Question, lady? Yes.
I found a new bug in my yard, and I wondered if you knew what it was. It's about a quarter of an inch long. It has two bodies, and it's white furry with a sharp little pin nose. Is that some kind of a beetle?
It is some kind of a beetle, if I'm not mistaken. It is into the beetle family, and it is actually from here in town. You see those a lot down into the river, and these new areas that are actually getting built on, you see a lot. It's a bug that actually has always been here, but it would probably affect some plant material. We recommend just something like a systemic or anything in that nature to take care of the bug for you. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, I planted a lantana plant that I got from your place. Rabbits ate half of it right away, and then the lizards came in and got it. What can I do?
Funny story. I'm going to go ahead and let you know there are products that we sell, like Rabbit Away, rodent, anything in that nature. I had a customer that actually came into the store. It was actually when I was still working in St. George. I started with the company in St. George, and he came in and he let me know that what he actually did was he tried everything on the shelf. He even ordered products online, and he had no results. What he actually did, he went to the grocery store and got the hottest peppers that he knew of and made his own pepper spray. Now that's something that I would recommend for you, but the only thing is, I wouldn't recommend if it's something that's edible that you're going to go ahead and consume. I'd probably try that if you've tried some products already.
We're close.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't let it get in your eyes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Every time I try to grow basil, it dies. What am I doing wrong?
Are you growing it in a shaded area, ma'am, or like in a planter box? Where are we growing it?
I put it in the backyard so it would get the eastern view in the morning, and in the afternoon it's in the shade.
Okay. Did you use veggie mix by chance, or did you just use potting soil? Potting soil. So that's what it is. When we get into our veggies and our herbs, you want to use a mixture for that soil, for it to go ahead and produce. Using just regular potting soil probably isn't going to be enough. We carry something that's called the veggie mix, and that's probably what I would have recommended for you. There is a difference between potting soil, our pay dirt, and just your veggie mix. On a crepe myrtle, the only thing that I would recommend for you is I actually bring them in and ship them away. I bring them in the winter, and I ship them away for the summer. Reason being is, I mean, just like the massive heat wave that we just had at 117 for 2 weeks straight,
Right.
That was pretty massive.
Right.
Now, could you imagine that in a black bucket? Because that's what I go ahead and have them in. It just makes it that much worse. So I ship them out. And I actually just shipped my crepe myrtles out last week. I did have some in the store. It was about 4 specimens that I brought in. What I would recommend for you, if it's going into the soil, just do pay dirt. Out of this picture, ma'am, if I'm not mistaken, it's a lemon bottle brush, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brush tree.
Yes, so it's the lemon specimen. The lemon is the one that gets anywhere from 7 by 7 or 7 by 8. So what I'm seeing here is this one actually could be fertilized. How often do you fertilize, ma'am?
Probably never.
Okay. So what we can go ahead and do is fertilize this for you.
Does it have to be a certain time?
A lot of people go ahead and fertilize in the winter and in the spring, ma'am. That's mostly a personal preference as well. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Lime trees. Would you think it'd be better to keep them in a pot or plant them?
So just like she had said, she's had hers. Hers is a grapefruit, but she's had it in a container for a couple of years.
Okay.
I would highly recommend that because of the soil situation.
Okay.
If you have some great soil in the yard, then you can go ahead and probably go straight into the soil with it. But if not, I'd go ahead and mend the soil, get it prepared, leave it in a container for a couple of years, let it establish a little bit more,
Right.
and then go ahead and transplant it into the soil.
And with that, would you consider like morning sun, afternoon shade with that lime tree? Like,
You'll be
what about-
surprised. Lime trees actually, any citrus actually loves the heat. It actually causes it to produce more. It's either freshness or heat that they tolerate, and that's what causes them to produce. So what I would in the yard, I would probably plant it somewhere where it gets all morning sun and afternoon shade. Reason being, our climate's a lot different than anywhere else. If you go anywhere else, their climate is the hottest time of the day from noon to 1 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock. Our afternoons are the hottest, and that's what's different here. Yes.
I planted 3 dwarf palm trees,
Yes.
and 2 are thriving and one's barely surviving. I used alkalichi on the soil before I planted them. Is there anything special I could do for the one that's barely thriving?
What kind of palm tree was it, ma'am?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay. Here's the thing with palm trees. The great thing about a palm tree is that it's in the grass family. If you see anything that's completely brown, it's dead. Now, plants work that way. They go ahead and try to revive the dead every time you fertilize. So if you're not trimming the dead off, what it's going to do, it's going to try to revive it. That's just the way that plants work. So I would recommend trimming, fertilizing, and bumping up the water a little bit.
Okay,
and you'll
great.
probably get it to thrive.
Great, thank you.
Don't consider it dead. My mom's sago palm was not one bloom on it, not one frond. I was going to pull it out. Next thing you know, a week later, it was just going.
Fantastic, thank you.
I've got several bushes in my backyard that I need to have trimmed. When is the best time to trim the bushes, spring or fall?
Contractor-wise, they're probably going to tell you that they're just going to trim them in the fall. But in all reality, a lot of contractors go ahead and trim throughout the year. They do a trimming in the spring. The good thing about, they normally try to base off of spring and fall. Reason being, that's when they're fertilizing. So what they do is they trim it back, fertilize, and then make it push all that new growth. So that's probably something that you can go ahead and do. And in all reality, you probably wouldn't want to trim in 115 weather.
No.
Right? Yes, ma'am.
Is February a good time of the year to trim rose bushes back in this area?
I would say February, yes. I'm going to be honest with you. I've actually trimmed the ones in my yard quite a bit every year because of the heat.
Right.
I trim them, I fertilize them, they push new growth, and then the new growth gets fried, and I go ahead and trim them back. I've trimmed my rose bushes quite a bit this year.
Really?
Yes.
Doesn't matter the time, you just, if
No.
they get burnt, trim them back and fertilize. Okay.
What I would probably go ahead and do is wait till the heat is gone. So February would be great.
Yeah.
And then into the summer, if you get heat damage caused to your rose bushes,
Right.
I would hold off until the heat is gone.
Right.
And then go ahead and trim and fertilize.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Anybody else?
Over here.
Yes, ma'am.
On the grapefruit tree, would you ever trim it back? Can you do
Here, I
that?
would probably go ahead and strip it. If you have anything that looks dead, that you don't think is going to go ahead and go, I would strip any leaf off of that. If the branch looks like it's not coming back, then I would go ahead and trim that.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't hack it back.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thanks.
The most common thing that happens here with the cactus is we overwater and we actually drown out the cactus. We get that root rot and then they just die off.
So you're saying no water in the summertime?
If you were to water that thing in the summer, I'd probably recommend maybe once a week, if that. And that would just be just a little 1-2 gallon watering can. If your cactus is starting to yellow out at the base, it's actually receiving too much water.